we're looking at an individual life that is trying desperately to make it. And although we tend, especially we scientists, tend to think about populations, not so much individuals, you can't help but look at these images and realize that every one of those individuals out there that was affected by our mistake is an individual life struggling with as much dignity as any one of us. Looking right into the eye of a bird suffering as much as that pelican does make you realize what we owe these as individuals. As we look back on the disaster that unfolded in the Gulf in 2010, a couple things come to mind. Number one, we certainly did avoid the calamitous disaster that we all feared would happen. The oil never did come ashore in the huge quantities that we feared, and by and large, the colonies of birds out there did end up rearing young. We think they probably were affected a lot more than you could see, because by looking closely, it's clear that tens of thousands of those birds actually were affected by oil. When you study very closely these high-definition images, you realize that almost all the babies, a huge proportion of the adults down there, were affected at least a little bit by this oil. They weren't drenched in oil, but almost all of them have flecks of it here and there. Almost all of them are preening a little more than they have to. And you realize that a lot of it is around their mouth and inside their beaks, and obviously they're ingesting it. By looking closely into the system down there, what emerged is the fact that it had really widespread impact at levels that are outside the human perception when we look at them from 500 yards away. Birds, and especially seabirds, are extremely resilient organisms. They've evolved over millions of years to handle nature's problems, including years in which storms or floods